Following the strawberry fire fatality in Great Basin National Park was a tree strike fatality. The Risk Management Committee forwarded the Safety Action Plan to the Hazard Tree Subcommittee and asked us to look into a few of the Safety Action Plan items, primarily involving improving training for sawyers in dealing with hung trees. We started to have discussions with hotshot crews, sawyers, fuels crews, and really trying to get our fingers on what are these pressures that are getting the sawyers to the point of even putting the saw into these kinds of really more complex situations.
So one of my major goals of this project is getting the message when a sawyer gets into a situation that at any point they're not comfortable, it's okay to walk away. And whatever, discuss other options. Maybe you bring in a sawyer that's more qualified or comfortable to cut it down. Maybe you flag it off. You go through your list of other options. But I think in the hotshot crews and fire in general, there's been this thought that if you start cutting that tree, you own it and you see it through. And I think we need to change that.
There actually has been quite a bit of change culturally, I would think. I think we're trying to foster that even more so in the SAW program now. On the crew, it's a more open environment to kind of speak your mind. If you have concerns, questions, you're not going to be looked down upon. It's more expected that you would ask questions and speak up if you have something of concern that you want to get out.
What we want to do is get to that point where, okay, things didn't go as planned. Let's have that quick discussion on the ground, and it doesn't have to be a long, drawn-out risk management analysis or anything. It's, hey, things didn't go as I planned. Do we still move forward with trying to get this tree on the ground, or are we good to go? Do we flag it off and walk away at this point?
So some of the alternatives, walk away, flag it off. You know, you can, rather than mop it up, just monitor it. You can burn it out. You can use mechanical means. And there's probably some others in there as well, but those are the more common ones. My concern is when you have an environment on a crew or anywhere else where people may not feel that comfort level, and they'll start cutting and getting in a situation where they're going to regret it or something's going to go wrong and you're going to have a bad outcome.
I think the biggest thing I always tell them to make sure that they feel comfortable doing what they're doing. And if they don't, if they have any questions, I like to have an open forum to kind of teach them what I know and what I've experienced. So I like to tell them to speak up, like ask me questions. If you're not sure on how to do something, I want to show you how to do it.
As far as the communication process goes of how to communicate that, you would still communicate that up the chain of command. I mean, I guess it depends on your position on the crew and your confidence as a sawyer.
Culturally, it's changed. It's not perfect yet, but it's changed for the better. And we're having more people speak up, and that's no accident. It's because we're talking about that a lot of discussion on it. Another example of change is like the geysering. And you know, for me, I go run a saw 3-4 days a year. I still catch myself traditionally opening up that fuel cap. But when I watch our new sawyers, they've got it. Guys, first year, second year crew members, we're hammering on it. This is no different than that, but we need to address it at my level, at crew boss level, and also type 2 crews spend a lot of time thinking about the pressures that they have. Support your people to identify and verbalize when they have those concerns. But that's, again, not an accident. They need to be coached on that up front.
Back guy! Tree coming down! Close the line!
Somebody getting into fire usually has certain personality traits that attract them to the job. That being, they want the challenge, they want to solve problems, they want to be aggressive and good at their job, but they want to learn quickly, and they want to prove themselves, improve their ability.
I would rather see us develop the discussion about, hey, can we just leave it, instead of always feeling like once you start working on that tree, you own it to the ground. I think that's where some of our biggest sort of stigma is. Allow our professional sawyers to make judgment calls, communicate those decisions, and move on, as opposed to just feel like they have to get that tree on the ground.
I think that it just comes down to the sawyer and what they're comfortable with, their communication with their saw boss and their saw program as to what type of liberties they could take on their own, because you might be in that scenario where you get the opportunity to try something new, it's safe, and you have to know the intent of your saw program as to whether or not you can take that liberty.
Concise communication with confirmation that it is understood is very important in everything that we do, not just following or cutting line or using a chainsaw. I think in every aspect of the job, that intent really needs to be communicated and received well for us to be able to be successful.
A lot of the fireline injuries associated with trees and moving forward, and you guys have spent a bit of time talking about shifting the culture, especially for new folks coming in. It starts with those early sawyers, what type of habits they get coming into a program as far as their confidence and their ability and the situations in which they're willing to put themselves in.
Everybody has to build their own way of how they're going to cut and how they're going to think, what their process is going to be. So I think exposing new crew members and new sawyers to the different procedures or processes that we all have as sawyers really gives them a broad outlook on how they can build their process.
The process and the time it takes to put a tree on the ground is insignificant compared to the time it would take to get somebody off the hill in the event of an accident or a tree strike. Take the time to come up with a plan, check it, make sure everybody who's there and involved is good with the plan, confident in it, and if you're not, then to step back and reevaluate.
We need to start thinking about more personal responsibility. We're aware of all the factors around us and that we're creating as well. We all need to stop and think about it a little bit more before we just jump into doing it. And I think that's where that risk management comes into play.
To me, that resonates through the years because I look back on that experience and I remind myself, like, don't get complacent. Don't think that you can predict what a tree is going to do, because it will surprise you. The mentorship is part of the mitigation for that, having a good experienced sawyer. Take the time to communicate with your saw partner, come up with a good plan with your crew. You'll get the job done, and in the end, it'll get done quicker for having been slow and methodical than to try to rush it through. We talk about how slow is smooth and smooth is fast, and I think that holds true in all cutting scenarios.
The human factors is driving all of this. Desire to improve your own experience level, that the human factor of, hey, I'm leaving a risk that's going to impact my crew or the next crew coming down the line. I think the sawyers end up feeling a responsibility for the safety of the crew, and they take on a lot of risk to make conditions, whether it's mop-up or hotline construction, as safe as they possibly can for their crew members that are coming behind and the crew members from other crews that may follow. That's where they're putting a lot of pressure on themselves. And why are we accepting extra risk as sawyers above and beyond maybe what is perceived to be needed to meet those objectives?
The technical end of it, that's always improving for your whole career. You be a sawyer, C certified, you're always going to improve on that, whatever your level. But the toughest part of this equation is the human factors, and it's ego and intimidation and all those things they're part of our world, whether we like it or not. We have to acknowledge that and say, hey, how can we overcome these barriers and get these people to speak up, and all of us and us as supervisors also be receptive. That's the other half of it, besides that employee talking about it, is they have to have an ear that's willing to listen and say, hey, I support this person. And if we want them all to come home at the end of the day and at the end of the fire season, this is a big part of it. And I think it's an area we need to improve as well.
to ask for help or just advice. Like, I'm not gonna just take the saw from you. And I don't think any supervisor should do that. We need to provide supervision to people that haven't had those experiences yet and let them maybe have those experiences.
We have success on a division or on a small fire or on a huge fire. When we have success, it's because we've been able to develop relationships on the fire line to where crews working adjacent to each other are communicating. They're working together for that common objective. That red card qualification says so much about your knowledge, skills, and abilities as a firefighter that it's highly coveted, and it's probably one of the most passionate discussions that you'll hear on fire is about chainsaw stuff. That's cool. We need to harness that. That's a great skill set. It's an incredibly important skill set in our job, and we need to harness that and really take it to the next level of incorporating some of that risk management decision making, and having some of those really experienced sawyers just go, nope, I'm not touching that. It's fine the way it is. Let's flag it and not even mop up underneath this thing. It's too woolly. Instead of just, I think I can do it. Because the I think I can do it's are where we get into trouble.